Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. It's time to have a look at a new aviation vehicle coming in for Germany in the next major updates, and it is the Tornado IDS WTD-61. Now this vehicle is incredibly similar to another vehicle that was actually an event vehicle, I believe in the winter event last year, the good old Tornado IDS Marineflieger. The only difference is the secondary armaments that it has access to. You can see here with the Marineflieger, it has the ARI 23274, whereas this vehicle has exactly the same radar on it, but the reason why the radar's around for the Marineflieger mainly is for these AS-34s, the Kormoran anti-ship missiles. But the thing for the IDS WTD-61 is it doesn't get access to them. So that's pretty much the main difference between them. Also, of course, the Marineflieger is a rank 8, and this one is masquerading as a rank 7 because it's a premium, and supposedly they don't sell top tier premiums, even though they have done for the last few months, because they bumped up a bunch of premiums to rank 7 in ground when only rank 7 was available. The Tornado IDS WTD is probably the best option just to kind of grind out the German tech tree if you want to. It's just going to be a base bomber, and that's all it's going to be. With this setup on it, pretty much what you can do is you can bring some countermeasures on the sides with access to 2 AIM-9Ls as well, and then you can just bring along a bunch of bombs which you will use to hit bases with. I know a lot of people who do this just to kind of grind out the tech tree at the end of the day, so you can get to those big bangers like the MiG-29G pretty effectively. This would be the standard bomb load that somebody would take. You can see here the amount of bombs that you can bring is pretty nice, and also you have the option to use the AIM-9Ls afterwards too, so that is something you can at least get. It has 2 pilots, and you have access to pretty much all the systems you would want. The vehicle doesn't have access to rockets, so it doesn't have any of the rocket systems. It does have an RWR, which is nice, and the radar is good for what it needs to do, which is pretty much nothing apart from detect enemies. You have the 27mm set of Mausers, the 2 guns in the front. They're completely fine. I think that there are better guns in the game, like the Vulcan, for example, but they do their job, and they're easy to use. The rest of you is just made of fuel, and then also you have the 2 engines at the back, the Turbo Union RB199 34Rs. I'm always surprised how small these engines are compared to a lot of other engines in the game. For example, if you have a look at something like the F-15, which just has pretty much at least modeled like maybe 2 or 3 times the size of the engines, is just completely nuts. But they give this thing enough speed to be able to move around. It is variably swept, so it can sweep backwards as it goes, and also get some really cool countermeasure pods in the form of these things on the side, which kind of look like drop tanks. If you're worried about, I suppose, you know, a few other things such as the amount of fuel you have on board, you can bring drop tanks if you feel like it. I don't think it's really necessary at the end of the day, especially if you're just going to be base bombing, but at the same time it is something to think about if you want to bring them along. In this, you can see the bombs basically just get replaced by the fuel tanks themselves. This thing is a hungry monkey, but also at the same time it still would be okay. So why would you pick this up? Basically, if you don't like dogfighting with the Lazar M, the Lazar M is not in, you know, the greatest position. It does get access to 6 R60MKs, which is super nice, but I know a lot of people who don't prefer it compared to a lot of other vehicles around the BR. So if you don't want to play that, you can just use the IDS WTD and just bomb a base, and then kind of use the AIM-9Ls and then go back home, because you're not going to be dogfighting in this thing. You're not going to be, you know, moving around at a hell of a rate of knots or anything like that. Instead, it makes much more sense to basically just go home after bombing bases. The IDS as well is kind of a proven platform at this point. You know, the Tornado was one of those that came in at a time which was kind of interesting because it came out at a time when other massive bangers came in, and it wasn't up to their level. It reminded me kind of like the F100 and also the MiG-19 when they also decided to add the Javelin at the same time. It kind of shows the difference in quality. Whereas when you have a look at this vehicle with the F-16 and the MiG-29, it's very obvious the difference in setups. So this vehicle for me, it literally is a bomb truck. You know, it does have access to defenses, which is really nice. And if you want to kind of grind through the tech tree quickly and do it efficiently by hitting a base or hitting some ground targets, you can do. And I think that's basically it's basically what it's designed to do. Can you also do other stuff in it? I mean, sure. Like you can do stuff such as ground forces in this thing if you really want to. Will it be as prolific as a lot of other vehicles around the BR? Probably not, but it's an option, right? Like you can take the bombs and you can take everything else on it. I just feel like for this vehicle, it is heavily kind of limited to the role it can take because it can't really dogfight, which is a bit of a problem. So basically, you're limited to hitting a base. And then when the enemies come after you, you hit them with the AIM-9Ls, and then that's pretty much it. And then you try and run as fast as you can to get away from the situation. And then from there, you end up going back to base. Like that seems to be what the general play style of this thing is, and it doesn't really deviate from that. So it does mean that it can get kind of boring playing this thing, but the reason why you pick up premiums like this is not exactly for fun, but to actually just grind out the general tech tree of the game. And I know that sounds, you know, really, really awful, but it's just the truth of the matter. It's something that, you know, many people have done for a long time. It's why they sold a lot of premiums last year, for example, when they added in the new aviation parts, because there's a lot of people who play ground and they just want to quickly grind through the aviation tech tree, so therefore they can get access to the stuff that they can use in the in the future. This doesn't get access to the fun, you know, anti-ship missiles. It would be cool if it did, like at some point, but I don't think that's going to happen. Since that was more kind of a unique thing for the Marineflieger. I think what's going to happen is it's just going to stay the way it is, and people are going to use it as bomb trucks. This is one of those planes that a lot of people use efficiently, and then a lot of people get annoyed at, you know, because they talk about kind of the core of the game and what the core of the game should be, and a lot of people don't believe the core of the game should be just bombing bases and going from there. And I think that's a fair, you know, assessment of the area. It does mean that teams can become imbalanced and can become all over the place, but also at the same time, one of the ways that they've tried to fix this is by adding more people to each team. So the more people who do these types of things, you know, the more fighters you'll have alongside of it. It does also get access to, I believe, the reverse thrust stuff, if I can remember how to do it, but it would, I mean, it has like the setup for it, so I don't know why it wouldn't, but yeah, so there's at least that too. So this vehicle will be fine at what it does. Will it be imaginative? Will it be something that brings something new to the game? No, it will be exactly the same as what we've seen before with other vehicles, but that'll work for some people and not work for others. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day. And I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Brendan Quinn, Vilneus, Character Fuel, Juan the Panda, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Merciless Reaper, Orange Tail, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Moxie, B. Young, Bareen, Peter Grayling, Alan Hacker, Sem Alslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R., and also Lafouche for supporting the channel.